Oh, hang on. I need to press that button. See, you get amateurs in. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. You get some lunatic in pressing the buttons on the West Ham network that doesn't know what's going on. This is what you end up with. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This is the big debate on the West Ham network. We have an assorted collection of the great and the good of the West Ham world on YouTube. We have got, obviously, you. Oh, hang on. I've pressed again. I've done it. I've pressed the wrong button. There you go. Right. So yeah, I know. We've obviously got Holly, who all of you will be very familiar with from the West Ham network. How are you doing, Holly?
Really good. Thank you. Excited for this. Looking forward to having a good old debate.
Good to hear. We've also got James from E20 Zone TV. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's all well. I'm very good, man.
Fantastico. Dennis, who you will know from if you've seen Garage Football, JPWHU TV. He pops up on there very regularly. But yourself, Den, you all good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Happy days, loving life. I hope everyone else is having a good time in the comments too.
Brilliant. Good to hear. And last but by no means least, we've got Jazz from West Ham's Irons channels. How are you, mate?
Very, very well. Got the rum and coke, nicely chilled. And yeah, pre-season. So at least the arguments or debate won't be about any games. We'll wait for that. So enjoying the transfer window, enjoying summer and looking forward to this. Yeah.
Good to hear, mate. Good to hear. As you can see on the ticker at the bottom, get your questions in for tonight's panel and please put a Q at the start. It makes it easier to find. But we have an awful lot in already. We're never going to get through these in a million years, but really do appreciate the really good turnout tonight. There's 233 of you watching live. For any of you that haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the West Ham Network. Drop a like on this stream. Put your comments in the comment section. And please also consider giving the West Ham Network a look. West Ham Massive even a look. My own bloody channel, and I got the name wrong. What do you do? Okay, let's have a little look at the comments that the guys have put in. I've starred a couple. Let's get out of the blocks with this one from Michael Blees. So Michael says, who has been the best signing of this window so far? Well, there's been a few that you could choose from, Michael, I got to say. So let's start off with Holly. Give us your thoughts.
It's nice having quite a lot of choice, isn't it, for this question? For me, I'm going to say it's going to be Somerville. I think on that left wing, it's something that we can really make the most of this season. I think it's just going to be massive for us because Championship Player of the Year, lots of goals, lots of assists. I think it's going to make us a lot less predictable in the way that we attack, which is something we struggled with massively in last season or so, hence us keeping playing it back. So I'm hoping it will just add a little bit more life into the way that we play. And we've needed someone in this position since we had Ben Rama in his top form. Since his form dipped, I feel like it's just somewhere where we've struggled and we've not managed to capitalise. So for me, I'm going to say that Somerville might be the biggest game changer in terms of the players that we've signed.
Very impressive. You had a lot more time that you could have got stuck into there, Holly, but that's fine, not a problem. Let's go. Let's move it on to James. What about you?
I'm going to say Somerville and all, mate. 22, Dutch, winger, left-sided. That's what we need. We've been crying out for a winger for ages at West Ham, and now we've got someone who's up and coming and is probably ready to go right now. So, yeah, I make mine pretty short and sweet. Somerville, very good signing. Falkirk's a good signing also. I think if you want an instant player to come in and score your goals, he's capable of doing that. And obviously Rodriguez is a smart bit of business from West Ham, getting a free transfer and nicking him from Barcelona. So Somerville for me, but there's a few.
Another one that gets his point across within the 2 minutes. Well, this one could be quite easy. Dennis, best signing window in your opinion?
Where's Fodringham?
Fantastic. Brilliant.
I'm only joking. See, so Somerville, obviously, honourable mention for Somerville. He's not my pick, but the main thing Somerville is brilliant and it scares me that we've done this for the first time probably since Matthew Etherington. We've signed an out-and-out winger that's left-footed, play left winger, that's quick. We've not had a quick left winger for my memory in a very long time. And that's something we've been crying out for. And it gives us a bit of a selection headache in the attack. But for me, despite freely admitting on other channels that I don't know an awful lot about Fernandes, the fact that we have someone that Barcelona wanted, comes incredibly highly rated from La Liga analysts, and also provides us with more than adequate cover for when Alvarez picks up his mandatory yellow card suspensions and little knocks, because we were lost at sea without Alvarez last season. and having to play James Ward-Prowse as a holding mid or Souček as a holding mid totally ruined our flow. So for me, because it provides a selection headache and also adequate replacement or even competition for Alvarez Hernandez without even knowing too much about him, for me, that's the pivotal signing.
Interesting point. Jazz, you got anything you want to add to that?
Of course, that's why I'm on the show. So
Of
for
course.
me, it's Nicholas Fulkrug. Always loved strikers as a kid. And I think at last we've signed something and someone who will exactly fit the way we always play recently. And I think with J-Lo, it's going to be 4-2-3-1. Slightly different dynamics in terms of holding the ball a bit more possession-wise and a bit more pace up front. But I think in terms of what we exactly needed is him. He's very intelligent. He's not fast, but in the past, we've spent a lot of money on fast, dynamic players coming into West Ham. It hasn't worked. This guy is stable, good pedigree, Borussia Dortmund, 30-odd caps for Germany, couple of goals in the Euros. And I think, although it's his first move outside of Germany, I think Tim Steiner knows him really well. And he'll be exactly the right type of experienced, mature, kind of know it all in terms of the three people behind. So Somerville, Kudus, Bowen, he'll be the man who will be told, stay in the box, man. Not like Antonio going eating ice cream in the corner. We can't see you. How many times you used to go to a game, Cross used to come in, there's no one there. This boy will be in and around the box, great in the air, good on the floor, great finish, nice, intelligent player, and reasonably mature and safe for me. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Fulkrug. I think I've been waiting for this striker signing for a couple of years, and that's the one I'm going to go with, really, yeah.
Some interesting answers. Is there anything before we move on to the next question? And as I say, there's plenty of them. Is there anything that any of you guys want to get sort of counter with any of the points that any of the other members of the panelists have made? Dennis?
I don't really want to counter. I just want to say totally agree with what you're saying about Fulkrug. I've got lots of friends and connections over in Germany, and I'm not sure whether swearing's allowed on this channel, but when I've asked for a scouts report on him from the one that I value the football knowledge the most, he said, imagine if Miroslav Klose was a bleep house. That's what you're getting with Fulkrug, is what he said. So
pretty decent recommendation, to be fair, isn't it? I would say.
You got to see some of the comments, Gatesy. Someone thinks you're missing an ear, mate.
Very possibly. Listen, what can I say?
Fresh. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, so I'm trying to sort of like look at the questions as well as the live. It's sort of like this overwhelming. I mean, there's like 544. I've never had 544 people on a stream in my life, so this is ridiculous. Not that I'm complaining, I have to say. Got a little bit of a moral dilemma that's come in, and this came in from Jay Watson. I've got it here in front of me. I've not got it on a banner because it's a bit of a long one, but basically he bought tickets to the Betway Cup to take his son. Now, he can't afford to go during the season normally. He only normally watches youth team games. Now, since he bought the tickets, he then discovered that there was a boycott going on for the game against Celta Vigo. So his son still wants to go. And to be honest, Jay wants to go and support the new players and the new manager. But it's a shame that it's the first home game of Lopetegui's reign. And he says it's going to be in an 80% empty stadium. Any advice? He's so conflicted on what to do. So we'll start with yourself, James. What would you do? Bit of a conundrum for Jay, that one.
I can understand it from both sides. Yeah, obviously the boycott, people have had enough of keeping taking the piss out of by the owner. And for me, I think if you can't stop your son from wanting to go and see West Ham, mate, like I think you got to look at it from your son's point of view, right? Take your feelings out of the boycott, but this boycott needs to be one of many, and it needs to be one of many that's happening in the Premier League. Live games, away games, and making a statement. Like this one-off boycott ain't going to change Sullivan's mind overnight. You're going to have to do it consistently and relentlessly over the course of the season. So I would let him go. He's a West Ham fan. He wants to go and see the boys play. Yeah, and you can't take that away from him. But I can understand it from other people, and there's a big thumbs up from that.
Sorry, pressed the wrong button. Dennis.
Same advice. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know it's 10 quid from adult. Am I correct in thinking it's a kids for a quid for this friendly?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
So worst case scenario, it's 30 quid. easy lowest scenario, it's 12 quid. That's not going to really affect the 12 quid difference. Is not going to make if Sullivan go, oh no, I better lower the prices because I didn't get that £12 or that £30. That 3 people going isn't going to make a huge difference, but it will make a huge difference for your kids. And it is kind of like supporting the fact of why we're boycotting this is because without the concessions, next generation of West Ham fans may not be as high numbered because they can't go. So I'll take your kids definitely in that situation. That's what I'd prioritize.
Would you counter that, Jazz, or do you pretty much concur with what Dennis and James have gone with so far?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I remember my first game. You remember your first game, and it really doesn't matter who the opposition is. You're just looking forward to it, and I wouldn't want to get in the way of my child going to his first game, and there'll be a lot of chances and opportunities to obviously rebel against what's going on in other ways. And I would, especially with the financial situation with that family as well. So I would definitely go and make it sort of a nice day out for the little one. And then we'll take care of the more serious stuff in many other ways, a long season to go and that. So yeah, I would take my family and my child, to the game. Yeah.
Oh, Holly, you might be in this position in a couple of years' time, taking the little one to London Stadium for the first time. Put yourself in Jay's shoes. What do you think you'd do in that position?
It's not a nice position to be in, is it? I think the thing is, while I think the boycott is very much needed to make a point, I don't think anyone can push their beliefs, I suppose, on others. And if a kid is excited to go to a game, like the comments have said, like the guys have said, you remember those first games and you're so excited about watching. You don't care who the opposition is. You don't care what's going on. You just want to be in that stadium and watch the game. Obviously, it's a massive shame as well from another perspective, going to a 3/4 empty stadium for the first game. But I don't think you can get in the way of a kid wanting to watch West Ham. And like the other guys have said as well, there's a long season, and I think points will be made throughout the season, and it's not just going to be this one game that makes all the difference. So if you've got a kid that's excited to go to that game, I don't think you should stand in the way of it as much as the boycotts are important.
Now he's on mute.
Apologies. I've been told about that. I've got to watch my P's and Q's. So yeah, but I mean, it's a real difficult one for me. I mean, fundamentally, he's spent the money. So whether he goes, whether he doesn't, the club's already got his dough. So I'm not quite sure that they're that bothered by 2 people not turning up. Although I dare say they'll probably be quite bothered when they look and there's just rows and rows and rows and blocks of seats looking at the players coming out. It's going to be quite embarrassing. I will say this. I hope that it sends a message out to the hierarchy upstairs and maybe they reevaluate. I'm not holding out much hope, but what can you do? Let's have a little look at some of the other questions that have come in through the audience. Question from Howard Ailes. So Howard says, who do you think will be the first managerial casualty of the season? So first of all, we'll come to you, Dennis. What's your thoughts? Who do you think's the first one for the Spanish Archer?
Arnie Slot.
Oh, go on.
No, I'm only doing that just in case. I've got a friend that's a Liverpool fan that he hates West Ham with a passion for no apparent reason. So I'll make a point to say something to wind him up because he watches all my videos just to then pick up on one thing I said and then we'll never hear the end of it. No, in more seriousness, I think it's going to be one of the newly promoted sides. Giving the politician's answer, I just don't really know which one at this stage. I think the Ipswich guy is pretty secure considering all the drama and hoo-ha over summer. So I'm going to go with, and Southampton are invested in. So I'm going to go with the whoever's coming at Leicester, isn't it? It's I've forgotten his name now. Cooper.
What, Steve Cooper? Yeah, that's right. It is,
yeah, it's Cooper. So I just think out of process of elimination, if Leicester have financial problems and bad transfer window, it could be him. I've seen in the comments are saying Ten Hag. The problem is United are going to get rid of him. We'll get rid of him in summer rather than during the thing because his contract's up then, isn't it? So that's what will happen with Ten Hag.
I think for me, just before we move it on to the next one, if you were to ask me, Mark's hit it on the head. I think Maresca could be in a lot of trouble if he doesn't get out of the blocks quick. he might be the one for me. But Jazz may well have a different point of view on it. Go for it, Jazz. Who's your thoughts on getting?
I only wanted West Ham questions. I don't really care about the rest of the clubs, but that's me. But yeah, it's typical. I don't care about any other clubs, but I don't know either. I'm just going to pick Nottingham Forest. I don't know, Nottingham Forest manager. Yeah.
You got no interest in what goes on anywhere else.
No, because it's hard.
Stadium.
You go through, and they're all well settled managers who've done really, really well in the previous seasons. I have to pick a club who just escaped last season, so I'm going to pick Forest. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Holly, got any thoughts?
I'm going to say Maresca. I think Chelsea are in a really weird position where they've spent so much. They've signed long-term deals, super long-term deals with different players to try and bolster their squad. But if they don't hit the ground running, they're going to be stuck with these expensive players that are doing nothing. And with that, I reckon you get the pressure of expecting to be able to perform. So yeah, for me, I think it's got to be Chelsea manager going first.
Ooh.
Same
James, got any thoughts on the first managerial casualty?
Gary O'Neill at Wolves, mate.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. I think he's going to get found out this year, 100%. I think he had a good season last year, and a lot of these teams that are coming up, like Ipswich and Southampton, they will give teams a game, like Wolves and Forest and all that. I think Gary O'Neill had a good season. Everyone was hyping him up last year, thinking he was the best thing since sliced bread. But I think this season you're really going to see if he's what he's made of. And I think he's lost a few players. Neto could be at the door. Also, obviously, we've got Kilman. So I'm going to go with Gary O'Neill, mate. I think Gary O'Neill might struggle this year at Wolves.
ooh, I don't know. I say I still think it's Maresca for me. I just think that there's such an expectation on Chelsea. I mean, they actually finished the season quite well last season, didn't they? And they still got rid of the manager. I mean, all right, he didn't have a great start, hence why they finished sixth, but I think Maresca's coming in, no Premier League experience. I think the only thing that's going for him is the fact that he's got a connection to Pep Guardiola. But I'm not too sure that that's a guarantee of anything. But we'll wait and see what pans out. So let's have a little look. We're gonna have to pick a. Okay, here we go. Billy Boy comes in. So, do you think Lopetegui has got a lot of pressure on himself to achieve this coming season with all the new players? We will start with Jazz. Get stuck into that one, mate. What do you think about?
Yeah, very easy question for me to answer. He's got a 2-year contract. He's been instructed to qualify for Europe within the 2 years. So the first year is kind of not really pressurized, really. I don't think we're going to get relegated. I love a top 10 finish. So I don't think he's under any pressure. I think he's a very mature, very experienced manager with a good level head. I've loved the way he's interacted with the players already around their training ground. I love the arm around the players. I love him joking and playing. He's someone I would love to play for. Something I couldn't say about David Moyes. He's got good experienced coaches around him. And I think the players who've signed have all mentioned how they've loved speaking to him. He's very honest. And you can see how ruthless he is as well in terms of what we need and how quickly we need it. So, no, I don't think there's any pressure on him at all. Second season there will be, because he has to qualify for Europe. Otherwise, that third-year option might not kick in. But all depends on how he does overall. But West Ham is very loyal, as we know, to all their managers. And I don't see anything to worry about unless we're in the bottom three, which I can't see happening.
Holly, how about yourself? Is he got any pressure to achieve anything this season?
Personally, I'm going to try and be as patient as I can and just give it time, because I feel like it's such a big project. We've bought these new players and brought them in, and it's going to take time for it to gel. But naturally, I think as a fan base, we always want to see results quickly. And I think at the moment, like similar to what Jazz was saying, there's not a huge amount of pressure because he's got 2 seasons and we're seeing this as part of a project now to get back into European football. So expectations are not exceedingly high. However, I do think if we have a bad start to the season and we find ourselves somewhere around that relegation zone, like 4 or 5 games in, I can see people starting to panic and the pressure starting to ramp up. But I do think he's a manager with a very cool head, and I don't think he'll let him get that get to him. And I think he'll just keep pushing through with his ideas regardless. So I think he'll be able to deal with any pressure that comes his way, is the best way to say what I'm trying to say. But I think naturally there's always going to be pressure as a new manager to show what you can do. And when you've had quite a lot of new signings and quite a lot of budget put behind your ideas and the way that you want to play, naturally it does come with that bit of pressure.
Thanks for that, Holly. And last but not by no means least, James, what do you think?
I've got to disagree with the two speakers. I expect top 10 this year, and so do a lot of other fans. Right, West Ham need to be acting like a big club, and we are a big club. And I think when people say that, this year's a free year and we'll see how it goes, I completely disagree on that. Because next year we won't have Kudus, Paqueta and Alvarez if we're finished mid-table. West Ham have been competing for the last 4 years or 3.5 years to get to Europe, win a trophy. And I expect West Ham to be there this year. Do you know what I mean? With the firepower that we've got, we should be right up there. And I think anywhere in the top 10 is acceptable for Lopetegui's first season. So, yeah, like I think this sort of mentality of like, let's just accept whatever happens this year and then we go for it next year. There won't be a next year because some of these players won't be here next year. Like Kudus won't be here next year. If he has a really good season, he'll be out the door. And so will a few others because they will want European football. And as fans, this is what we need. We need European football. So Lopetegui has got a bit of pressure on him. He has, because he's come into a club that's got into Europe consistently. And it's the first season that we haven't had Europe in the last three or four. So, you know, it is what it is. But I expect top 10. And so do a lot of other fans, if I'm being honest.
I said last. I do apologise, Dennis. But I got to say that Peter's comment there is absolutely correct. I think that is fair. She's the only one that probably doesn't deserve to be on a Crime Watch lineup. The rest of us, we probably wouldn't look out of place on it. But Dennis, over to you.
Well, first let's address the elephant in the room. They asked comments about the Hall and Oates t-shirt. Obviously, I'm actually going to get them mixed up. Not Darren Hall, the other one. Oates. I'm Oates, especially when I do Movember. And there was an attempt at a photograph with Corey from West Ham way back in the day, who looked like a 1% Darrell Oates. So yeah, sorry, Hall. So we were going to have a Hall and Oates photo, but we just couldn't. We never met up with each other in that during Movember, sadly. But regarding Lopetegui, I reckon the pressure is going to come, but it's not necessarily going to come from the fan base. It's going to come from some of the more outspoken Moyes defenders that go on a radio show begins with T and rhymes with Orc Sport. And if we lose the first couple of games, they're going to be right on it saying, oh, Moyes could come back. They've made a huge mistake like they did when Pellegrini came in. Exactly the same, I reckon, is what's going to happen. I think first season is going to be a bit like Pellegrini's first season, where there's a bit of new style of play. There's a lot of new players coming into gel, and we might struggle at the beginning, but I believe us to be comfortably top 10 by Christmas and maybe pushing on a little bit further up. And then second season, that's when we start talking about Europe. So that's my view on it. Probably have a lot of people disagreeing, but I think it's going to be a not very exciting first season to build, and then we see the project in the second season, personally.
Right. Well, we obviously had Holly giving her point and Jazz before her, and then James came in.
I just want to say one thing to James's thing.
Go on. I was just about to try and get you head. So
I can probably speak on behalf of Holly as well. What I was saying is I won't be happy with the bottom 10 finish. What we were saying is Lopetegui going to be under pressure? And I felt he wasn't, because the only way would be if we're in the bottom 3, right? Which I can't see it happening, and I will be happy with the top 10 finish. So anything above that, I just want to clarify, I'm not ambitious for a bottom 10 finish, but he will be only under pressure if we're in the bottom 3, and I can't see that. And the board's generally quite relaxed about things like that. So yeah, we're all pushing for a top 10 finish, and I think he's more than experienced and capable of that, really. And it's a long season. The fixtures are tricky at the beginning. Every game's hard, so I hope we all jumping up and down towards the end of the season if we want to, really, this time around. Yeah,
exactly. And I completely agree as well with the fact that it is a race against time in some respects, is that if we don't start performing well, we are going to lose our top players, and then those chances of Europe become fewer and far in between. So I think we do need to definitely push on. So obviously I want us to finish in European spots next season. I just feel like we definitely need top half of the table, but hopefully we can do a lot better than that. And Lopetegui's got the talent to do it, and we've got the squad to do it right now. So there aren't going to be many excuses should it not work. But in terms of pressure from the very beginning, I'm not sure how much is going to be on Lopetegui. But as always, there's that pressure.
Well, there was a question that came in as well on the West Ham massive Facebook page, which I've got to get this one shoehorned in, ladies and gentlemen. This one from Joan Rutherford, friend of the channel, and she asked the question: how many players from last season do you think will even get a start against Aston Villa? Do you think he'll be bold and we'll see a much changed lineup? I'll get Holly. She can give her a take on that one. What do you think? Is there going to be a much changed 11, or do you think that we're not going to see as many changes as we think?
I think we'll see players like Rodriguez come in and Kilman, Somerville as well. But I'm not sure we're going to see. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka, if we can sign him, I think will come in ahead of Soufal. I'm not sure we're going to see like an entirely newly invented squad. But I think we will have 3 or 4 players swapped out. And I like that Lopetegui, even just getting rid of Zuma, I think shows a bit of intent that we're not just going to keep hold of Deadwood for the sake of having players that previously maybe we had loyalty to or played just out of principle. So I like the fact that he is being cutthroat with the players that he wants on that pitch and how he imagines it. So I'm excited to see what happens. But yeah, I definitely think Kilman, Rodriguez, Somerville. I don't know how we'll play Fulkrug. I saw someone mention this in the comments. I feel like he'll have to interchange and we'll have to swap the formation up a little bit to do that. But yeah, so I think we'll see a few new players in, but I don't think it's going to be an entirely new starting 11.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna put you in the manager's chair just momentarily then, Holly. You're in the dugout, you're picking the starting 11.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
So Areola in goal.
Okay.
As it stands at the moment, I'm going Soufal right back. But if we can sign Wan-Bissaka, he takes that place. I'm going to have Kilman and Agard currently at the back. But I feel like we do need to strengthen with one more centre back, if not more than one. I heard Lopetegui was after 2, I think, today. Emerson left back. Then I would have Alvarez and Rodriguez together. We know that they can play well together. And I think that they'd be good sitting with Paqueta just ahead of them. Kudus on the right, Somerville on the left, and then I'd play Bowen up top. And I think if we're going to play Fulkrug, then we need to push Bowen out on the wing and change it up a little bit. But yeah, I'd play Bowen up top. So that would be my starting 11 at the moment, unless we can make some more signings.
How about you, James? Do you think it will be a much changed starting 11?
Well, we need to change the defence because the defence is rubbish at the minute, isn't it? Let's be real. So yeah, listen, you're probably going to see a lot of the old guard coming in for the first game. Like some people who have been there for a while. Obviously, Alvarez is out; he's injured, isn't he? So I don't know. Whatever happens, though, I want to see exciting, dynamic football and lead us to victory. So yeah.
Same to you, James. I can't do it to Holly and not sort of put you on the spot. You're the manager. What's your team? What's your formation?
4-3-3 for me. Yeah, I see people saying about Paqueta and Kudus as like 8s, and in like midfield. I don't know about that one. I'd probably have Rodriguez in there, very good player. I'd probably even play someone like Souček first game. I really would, just to get him in there and like with a bit of energy, because Villa's going to be a tough game. And then up front, I think, do you go with Fulkrug or do you bring him in gradually into the Premier League? Now, for me, I think you might have to bring him in gradually over a period of time. Yeah, because obviously the Premier League is a bit different. But I'd probably have like a front 3 of Bowen, Kudus, and Somerville. Midfield of probably Rodriguez, Ward-Prowse, and Souček, Edson Alvarez. Oh, Paqueta's there, isn't he? Yeah, take Ward-Prowse out, put Paqueta there, Souček and Rodriguez, and then obviously a back 4. whoever can defend, basically. So yeah.
Dennis, what do you think? We going to see wholesale changes from the new manager?
Not so much, purely because there's a few reasons. And if I'm allowed to plug another channel, I had the exact same question and gave my starting 11 on JP West Ham TV or West Ham UTV with our transfer review in there. However, I think there's the logic of having players that are gelled and know how to play with each other by and large, with a couple of fresh faces, is what I'm going to think. I've also, as much as I would love, I think I have him in my lineup, but it's with a caveat of how match fit is Rodriguez going to be. He got released on the 1st of July. He's played Copa America, I believe, but what's he been doing in between? Is he going to be ready to play 90 minutes of Premier League football against a very attacking Aston Villa side? That's sort of a question. But Alvarez is injured. So I'm going for, Areola in net, Emerson left back, because apparently he's, according to X on his podcast, he's done quite well with the style of play. I'm gonna wince at the comp reaction. This is gonna say Aguerd at left centre of defence with Kilman. Kufal's kind of gonna have to play right back, really, isn't he? Because I realistically don't see us signing someone that's then going to be ready to start. Because if we sign someone at right back, it's going to be probably Monday, Tuesday. Then you're going to have, depending on match fitness, Fernandez with Souček and Ward-Prowse. You have Kudus left, Paqueta. So Kudus right, Paqueta left, and you have Bowen up top. And then you integrate Fulkrug as a battering ram when they're knackered. Or if you want old faithful, Mikel Antonio, you've also got Somerville that can come on and use that pace if they're a bit stretched, if you want to switch it and put Paqueta as a 10. Take off Fernandez if he's knackered or we need to attack. So there's no CDM. There's just 2 CMs and an attacking mid, playing too much of the old Football Manager here. You've got the options on the bench now to freshen things up rather than just being, we'll stick 4 L's left wing and hope for the best, which is what we had at times last season. So that's the logic behind my lineup.
How about you, Jazz? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll stick to 4-2-3-1. Areola in goal. Someone said in the comments he's injured. I don't know what was that. I don't know what happened with him. I thought he's fit. Areola in goal. Hopefully new right back. If not, it'll be Captain Kufal. I mean, not Captain Kufal, but you know what I mean. Kufal at right back. Emerson left
Captain
back.
Calamity.
Yeah. Aguerd, who I ain't got no time for him, as you know. Aguerd next to Max Kilman. The 2 sitting midfielders, Paqueta and the new boy, Rodriguez, probably, if Alvarez isn't fit, and then Bowen on the right, Kudos in the middle, Somerville on the left, and Fulkrug up front. I have seen Antonio in the last pre-season look really fit, great finish, and usually needs a kick up the backside when someone comes in. Hopefully we see a bit of that. But going back to what Dennis said, oh my God, our bench is going to be so good, and that's where I see people like Antonio getting the most out of him and Souček really. So 4-2-3-1. Hopefully get a new right back. I think the manager does want another left back. We'll see what we can do. 4-2-3-1 with new signings starting apart from Foderingham and Guillermo. Really, I've got slight concerns about the moment, but that's my lineup. Simple, and with Bowen as captain.
Bowen as captain, yes, that's the other thing that's yet to be decided. Right, let's have another little look at the questions. Bear with me. So we've got one here from Peter Jones. So he comes in and asks the question: out of 10, do you rate our chances of European football? Okay, I think he's saying out of 10, how do you rate our chances of European football? So let's start with James. Get stuck into that. What do you think our chance of European football are?
At the minute, I'd say a 7. I think we've got the firepower to get there, but we haven't got the defence. If we can get a centre half in, a right back in, possibly a covering left-sided player, left back, then we might be able to get in there. It's either going to go one or two ways this year. It's either going to be amazing or it's going to be a struggle. I don't think there's going to be a middle, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to say at present it's about a 7 because of the talent that we've got up front. I think we can score more goals than we have done in previous seasons with the quality that we've got.
It might be the other end that we've got the problem, I suspect. But Dennis, what's your thoughts on that? Out of 10, how do you rate our chances of qualifying for European competition?
Pushing around a 7, I'd say. It really does depend this last 3 weeks of the transfer window. With Zuma going, there's talk of 1 or 2 people coming in. We're constantly being linked with Jean-Claire Todibo and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. If we can get both of those in, although I'm questioning the amount we're going to have to pay Aaron Wan-Bissaka to convince us to join him, which is always a bit of a red flag for me. I think that massively increases with the squatters we've got. I think we're still got a pretty decent chance. But ultimately, the way I look at this is where it doesn't just depend on us. It also depends on the performance and the improvements of other teams. If Palace continue to play like they did at the end of last season, I'd say that I'd favour them to get Europe ahead of us. You see, a lot of times that you profit off the failure of others when you come in, considering there's such few European competitions, 7 out of 20. You know, you got to have one of the big 7 not play very well. Class Newcastle in there for you to get European football. So you make your own luck, but I reckon 7 out of 10 chance.
What say you, Jazz?
You know what I'm like. I never normal, am I? 6.5. So,
I had a funny
I
feeling you were going to say that.
So the key question again is, it's going to be out of us, Man United, Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea. It's so tight in terms of squads, I think, and especially with a new manager coming. It's a handicap, everyone, when you get a new manager in. I know Chelsea as well in that predicament, but maybe we can edge United out because they're a club in all kinds of trouble in the background and off the field, especially. Really 6.5, but it's so tight between, and Villa will come down a lot, everyone, because of Champions League, you know. So Villa, us, Newcastle, United, it's not much between them, I think. So 6.5. Yeah.
Holly, if you had to give us a rating out of 10 to qualify for Europe at the end of next season, where
I'm
would
going
you
to go
place
for a whole
it?
number. I'm going to go for.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Jazz went for 6.5,
7.2. So
7.2.
I reckon once we've got Fulkrug up and running, similar to what the guys were saying earlier, I'm not sure we're going to start from the beginning of the season. But in his interview, he was saying about how he needs that service to do well and that he believes in himself and he can be clinical. If we can get him up and running with the players that he's got around him, I have no doubts that we can outscore opposition. My fear again comes mainly centre-back position, just the weaknesses and the lack of communication at the back, which keeps costing us. And we've seen in pre-season, it's already costing us. So I think if we can make more signings, my hopes for European football would become higher. But currently, I'm going to give it a 7. And I think it's just going to depend on us being creative enough and pushing for those goals more than we're conceding as it stands, unless we can change things.
I think we're all pretty much aligned. We're all sort of like around about the same sort of ballpark. Everybody's like a 6.5, a 7.2, 7, whatever. So I think we're all probably going into this season, as far as European qualification is concerned, probably more in hope than expectation, but we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, this is a manager that's got a pedigree in European competition. He won the Europa League with Sevilla, and obviously we've done a lot of good business. And I've got a funny feeling that there's some more business besides that's going to be done. And that actually feeds nicely into this question that Albie Claret and Blue has submitted. So he's asking the question, should we walk away from the Aaron Wan-Bissaka deal? I didn't call him Andre. I did that the other night. I keep calling him Andre for some strange reason. The Aaron Wan-Bissaka deal, and go for either Arnel Martinez, who is the Girona right back, or Ferdi Kaliolu. I'll start with Dennis. Your thoughts on this? Do you think we should walk away from the Man United deal?
Without even considering the two options, I would say we should always have the option of walking away from it, especially with a protracted transfer, with a player that needs paying off or is thinking more about the money than joining a club. It's not like he's being sent off to, no disrespect to it, but like a club in the Greek league or the Danish league where it's kind of, I really need a good payday to justify this. Like, he's still going to be playing at an established Premier League side that is realistically going to finish no lower than 12th. You know, even in our worst case scenario, I'd say we finished 12th, 13th this season. So the lack of commitment, it's like Maguire last year. He does not really want to be here. And he's thinking more about himself and some delusions that he's going to go to Inter Milan that are not really putting an offer in for him. I'd be lying if I said I knew an exclusive amount about these other two lads we're talking about. Out of the two, from what I have seen, the Turkish Dutch lad, Ferdi Kadoglu, or however you pronounce it, looks more solid. But I'll be happy with a right back, even if it's a cheap one with no nonsense like Kufal, who no one knew beforehand. Sometimes the unknowns are better. But yeah, I'd walk away right now. United are playing silly buggers. Wan-Bissaka's playing silly buggers. Time for us to go. Time for us to go elsewhere.
Jazz, what are your thoughts? Is it Aaron Wan-Bissaka that's playing silly buggers? I mean, from his point of view, he's not asked to leave. He's been pushed out the door. Is he playing silly buggers? Oh, you're on mute, mate.
Yeah, sorry. It's a very, very difficult question because it all goes back to even what's going on at West Ham, isn't it? With putting the season ticket prices up. It goes back to this question in a way. Sorry about being long-winded about it, but if clubs want to save money, it's not going to be done by slashing ticket prices by 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds. No, it's quickly done by saving on weekly wages wherever they get, especially agent fees. That's a big sticking point for me, and I'll always hate how much they get. It's extraordinary. I think the exams have only been brought in recently, and it should have been done ages ago. It should be certified and things like that. And those are the things you're going to save money on: the agent fees, the transfer fees, the wages, and that, right? And going back to Wan-Bissaka is a dilemma. He's a free agent next year. I think the club should supplement them because the club are the ones who will be saving the money, and you should half that. Usually, that's the way it's usually done. Do you remember when we paid Jack Wilshere off and Limpa? Wasn't that Swedish guy from Arsenal back in the day, Lingard or whatever his name was? Yeah, so it's up to Man United, I think, to look at if he stays with us, we're not going to pick him. What are the wages going to be for the whole year? Divided by 50%, and then we'll pay him, and then you go and we'll buy it. Because that other guy we were going to buy him, weren't we? Whether that was a trick or not, I don't know. He's waiting for a whole week now because we're about to buy him. Then they gave him a phone call that night, Den Haag, saying, "Don't go, lad. We're waiting for you. We're coming for you." He's in limbo now. So I think it's a case of I don't blame Wan-Bissaka. I blame Man United. I think that we saw the thing with Maguire as well. He played a handful of games. I know a lot of that's due to injury, and he's on huge wages, Maguire, and they couldn't do a deal with us, and they kept him on. I don't know who's doing all these things at Man United in the background. I don't blame Wan-Bissaka. Whether we should move away from the move or not depends on who we've got 2, 3, 4. But I love what we're doing. We're ruthless, as we've done by signing the Germany striker. Duran, whether it comes to later on, we discuss that later, but we're not the old West Ham that used to hang on to just one target and waste the whole window just waiting for that. And with a day to go, oh, he ain't going to come now. Let's just get a name out the sky and get him in. I think people know we've got the money. We're one of the few clubs with Tottenham financial fair play. We're in a relatively comfortable position, and we can move to target 2, target 3, target 4. We're very proactive this window. I love the way Tim Staunton's doing things, really. So I don't think not yet, because we've got a lot of players in already, and I think it's in our favour. The percentages is that he's going to come because Inter Milan are in for him, but they haven't got much money. A lot of these Italian clubs, like Todibo, Juve, they're messing about. Loan to perm, they haven't got the cash. So I think Wan-Bissaka's a London lad. Give it a couple of more days, I think, and then we'll think about it. But we're certainly confident we've got lineup number 2, number 3 backup ready to go if we need to explore that. I mean, Walker Peters, I never understood why we walked away from that. I like him slightly more than Wan-Bissaka, especially in the final third, attacking, can play left back, can play right back. I don't know what's happened there, but we certainly have got. But the thing we've done, just one more thing, the thing we've done really, really well is we've carried on speaking with all these clubs over numerous players per position. So in case Wan-Bissaka completely falls, we're quite further up with Walker Peters, at least halfway with that. And it's not a surprise if we go in for him. So we're keeping all our cards open, shall I say. So I like the way we're doing things, really, yeah.
Fair enough, Jazz. Thank you for that. Holly, your thoughts on should we walk away from the AWB deal?
I'd definitely like to have seen him at West Ham. I think this is the challenge when you deal with Man United, is that they've got players on such ridiculously high wages that when they're getting pushed out the door and they're owed money, naturally they're not just going to leap and lose out on 7 mil or however much it is, and they want to recover that money from somewhere. Man United, though, are the ones that I definitely blame because they're the ones that are saving money, like we've said, by getting rid of this player, but they're not willing to subsidise it and help us out to get the player either. And I imagine it must frustrate their players as well. We've had it with Maguire, we've had it with McTominay. Goodness knows how many other players there must be discussions with, and then the same situation arises. So I think if we're going to have to pay crazy amounts of money, then naturally we are going to have to run away from that deal. There are other options out there. Again, those two players that are linked, I don't know a huge amount to like chat too much about what they would bring to West Ham. Similar to what Dennis said as well, we didn't know who Soufal was, and he's come in and done a solid job for us. So I have faith that whoever Lopetegui and his team think is the right fit for right back will be the right choice for us.
Thank you for that, Holly. And yourself, James?
Bring us Verdi, Turkish Verdi, mate. He's the guy. He's the one, right? If you can't get Wan-Bissaka, go out for the Fenerbahce right back. He's very, very good, attacking, knows how to defend, versatile. That's what we want at West Ham. We want players who can do that. And in the Lopetegui system, he'll be brilliant. Obviously, West Ham did put a bid in for him. I think it's about 32 million. Now, if you need to add a player in there and people think Souček's done, get him in there, send him to Turkey, get Verdi to central London, City Airport, E20, get him there, mate. He's the man, 100%. Wan-Bissaka, for me, to make my mind pretty short, this has gone on for a month. It's gone on for far too long. It's dragging now. We need to change tack and sharpish because we need a right back at the club.
Agreed. I think that's the next priority. If I can get my sort of take on it, I think right back, if we could only bring in one more player, I think it needs to be a right back for me. Centre back would be nice, but I think if we've only got enough money or enough time to get one more player in, I think it needs to be a right back. I think Soufal is just so under what he was once before. £5 million, good signing back in the day, but I just think he's run his race. Talking of people who've run his race, it would appear that Kurt Zouma is on his way to another club over in Qatar, I believe it is. And obviously, therefore, it means there's going to be a vacancy as far as the next captain's concerned. So, question from Darren Middlecoat is, who should the next captain be? So, let's start with James on that one. Who would you have as the captain and why?
One man, Jared Bowen. 7-year deal. He's committed to this club. That should tell everyone what it needs to be said. I don't trust anyone else, if I'm being honest, but I trust him. He's a legend. He scored the goal at Prague. He's done a lot at West Ham over the years, and I'd give him the captaincy. He can lead by example. He's a very good finisher, and I think he's the player that when Declan Rice was here, that's what we wanted Dec to do. Dec decided that he fancied North London, but Jared Bowen fancies East London. And listen, I want him to be captain. If Max Kilman is captain by Lopetegui, that is a recipe for disaster. It really is. I would not rate that in the slightest. I think that's taking the absolute piss out of a few of the players who have been there for a long period of time. So Jared Bowen for me all day.
Thank you, James. And how about yourself, Holly? Who would you give the armband to?
Exactly the same. Jared Bowen. I think the fact that he's signed his future to West Ham, and he's the one player on the pitch that even when we've looked absolutely shocking in recent seasons, he gets his head down and he keeps working hard. I can't think of a single game where you felt like he's given up. And I think that is something that we've really been lacking since we had Noble as captain. Someone that doesn't just get frustrated and moan at those around them, but lead by example and just get on with the job. And he might not be the loudest and the most charismatic, but I still think he's more than capable of getting the team rolled up and getting everyone working together. And we've seen as well, Lopetegui looks really, really good with the players. And I'm sure him combined with Bowen as captain would be a really feel good team. So definitely Bowen for me as captain.
Thank you, Holly. And how about yourself, Jazz? Who's yours?
Yeah. Well, it's what the Dye family is saying. It's got to be Bowen, isn't it? They love him as a son-in-law. The missus loves him as a husband. We love him as a player. The family loves him as a son. The man can't do nothing wrong, can he? So it has to be Mr. Bowen. Absolutely, such a nice man. And I'm going to say something controversial now. Years to go, even in the next future, forget about Rice. This is the man that even if he went next year to someone, I wish it doesn't happen, he'll always be in my heart more than Rice. He's just got that thing about him. Such a nice bloke. And I was completely shocked when he stayed. I thought he was going to Liverpool. I was shocked. But again, it just proves that there's still nice people in football that are not that greedy. They appreciate loyalty. They appreciate love. They're down to earth, proper family guy from Hereford, you know, close-knit family. And he deserves everything he's getting. And it's such a tough cookie. I call him the SAS man. If there's an SAS test tomorrow to be commando for the British Army, you'll pass it all. The man's made out of metal, run through a brick wall for the club. Oh, I just love him to bits, and he's growing on me. And I've got Declan Rice on my West Ham Irons channel thing. I think I'm going to change it next couple of days and put Bowen in there. I think get in there, son. Bowen as captain.
Thank you, Jazz. And how about yourself, Dennis?
Oh, well, it's the thing. I'm going to maybe annoy a few people in the comments because I've seen bad things said about a couple of players I'm going to mention. But the one thing I'd say is we're a little bit spoilt for choice because we have, although I think there's a consensus on who it's going to be, and I only worry it's going to be a case of heart ruling head because he's never captained before in his life, Bowen. But in fairness, neither had Noble, neither had Declan Rice, you know, and that worked out okay. Well, okay, it's an understatement. But obviously, we're in a position where we've got quite a lot of players that have leadership experience. Like Alvarez is definitely captain material, in my honest opinion. Kilman, I know, said earlier, could be a bit of a disaster, but he was captain of Wolves. You've got Cresswell, who has been captain. You've got also, I know, I have things thrown at me in the comments, but Soucek, I believe, has captained the Czech Republic a few times. And also James Ward-Prowse was captain of Southampton for what feels like a decade, you know, before he left them. So you've got plenty of people to fill in as captain if Bowen goes off as well. Whereas before, you used to look around, especially in the days of Nolan and Noble, if they weren't playing, well, Nolan, Noble and Reed, if they weren't playing with the injury prone we were back then, you had some people. I think there was one game, I believe Matty Taylor was our captain. So looking around, so we're in a position where we've got 5 or 6 outfield players that are probably going to be regular starters, if not on the bench, that could come in as captain and cover if Bowen's rested, injured, suspended, or whatever. So yeah, but I think I'm going to have to knock rock the boat and go with the consensus of Bowen. I just fear it's a bit of heart ruling head. That's all.
Ooh, harsh. I personally, I would like to see. I'm torn. Bowen, I get the clamour for, but I don't know. I've got a funny feeling Alvarez for me. The only thing that makes me wonder about Alvarez is that he does like a yellow card, and with that would obviously come suspension. So I'm not too sure, but I think if I had to, I'd probably like to see given to Alvarez. We've got a question here from Jim Baker, and he says, of the centre back, which centre back would you prefer to be paired up with Max Kilman? I think it's pretty well established, the £40 million buy that Lopetegui's brought in. He was obviously with him at Wolves, so I think he walked straight in as the starting centre back. Who should be his partner? Should it be someone that's at the club already, or do you have maybe sort of like someone else that you think that we should be going all out for? Jazz, talk to me. You're on mute, mate.
Yeah, sorry. I like the left foot, right foot combination between centre backs. So I believe if I'm right, is Kilman left footed? Is he like a good?
He is.
I could be
yes.
wrong. So I'd like
I think.
Yeah, so I'd like a right footed one if I can. Again, a good. Sorry, he has to prove it a lot more for what he's done yet. In terms of the rumours who's coming in, I'm just trying to go through the list. You got the lad at Chelsea. I think he wants to go to Italy. Who else we got down there? We got a lot of midfielders, strikers. Not sure centre back position. You got Gomez being linked, haven't you? But then again, I don't know which side he plays. Again, he's in and out of the Liverpool team. That's a difficult one because I don't think there's that clear cut centre back we're being linked with. I mean, Tadebo's in there. I get that, but whether he goes Juve or not, we don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Tadebo, so I can't give an honest answer on that really. But apart from saying that, we need someone obviously who's ideally both-footed, right-footed, being big, strong, good with possession on the floor, reasonable pace, or if not, because Kilman's quite pacey, really. So yeah, a bit of a drab answer from me, really. There's no clear-cut target out there that we know that we know about, and then we know as fans what they're about, really, yeah.
Thank you, Jazz. Dennis, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, like I said, left foot, right foot combination kind of needs to be looked at. I'm going to be lying if I could tell you who is what footed out of our transfer targets. I feel the only reason for going back to Aguerd, apparently he suited the system right. So based on the fact of not getting one in before the first game, that's why I'm saying first game starting. But I like Mavropanos. I think he's good. Just got a few mistakes in him. Tabido has got to be the guy. He's so hyped up and he's played so well. United fans are desperate to have signed him, but because their ownership, it's a bit of a mix-up. Chalobah for me is the guy. I think he's money. I think he's brilliant. He can cover in for defensive mid and right back, I believe, as well. So it's kind of a combination signing. There's also that lad at, I'm going to totally brain fart on his name here, but he's at Salzburg, young Frenchman. It's Solet. That's it, Solet. He's apparently only available for 12 million. So if we could get a 25 million deal for Chalobah, I've seen in the comments available for, why not try and break the bank and get both of these wages freed up and get 2 centre backs to cover in? And then you got a real headache of 5 centre backs, or even freeze Alvarez to be sold to Saudi in January.
Thank you, Dennis. So we'll now move that over to James.
I think Kilman's got a lot of pressure on him, whoever he goes with. But I do think whoever goes with Kilman needs to be better than Kilman, if I'm being honest. I think West Ham need to go out and get Tomori or Todabo or someone of class. It has to be a top quality centre half to go in there. The only issue I've got is that White, we conceded 70 goals last season, and this is a key position, key area of the pitch, and we haven't really addressed it. We've signed one defender, and we've let really 2 defenders go in Ben Johnson and Angelo Bonner. So I don't know, mate. Really, Tomori wouldn't be a shout. Abrahams would be good. Would be a good signing. Chalobah, would be a good signing. But whoever comes in has got to be up there and better than Kilman for me.
Thank you very much, James. And the final word on this one goes to Holly. What do you think?
I really like the look of Todibo. I think Mavropanos and Aguerd just aren't good enough. The mistakes that we've made that have led to goals so many times now, they just scare me, and I feel like we've got to invest in this area before the window closes. Chalobah looks like he could be a decent option if we don't manage to sign a right back, because he's a bit versatile, plays centre back and right back, so could be backup as well for Soufal should we need it. But I would really like to see us invest properly and get a centre back in that's going to be strong alongside Kilman, so that we can alleviate all those worries that we keep facing, because it feels like such a simple thing to get right, just that communication and that pairing at the centre back. And I feel like if we can do that, we honestly are going to be in such a better position going into the league. And if we don't, I think there's only so many goals you can score until your defence does let you down. So we can't have a shaky defence moving forwards, and this is something that's got to be addressed. So I'd probably say Todibo first choice and Chalobah as a backup at the moment. I'm sure there's many more players out there, and hopefully we're already out there chatting to them.
Thank you very much. We're pretty much out of time now, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like to thank you very much to all you guys on the panel for joining us, and you guys that have been in the live chat. Before I disappear, make sure you dropped a like on this stream. There's also going to be a debrief over on the West Ham Massive. Now, in case you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about, well, the West Ham Massive is my YouTube channel. If you haven't already done so, I'd really be appreciative if you could pop over there and give that a subscribe. I've just dropped the link, channel URL, into the live chat. So if you wouldn't mind popping over there, we're going to start a debrief in about 5 minutes approximately. I'm going to go and get myself a drink, so it might be a little bit later, but pop over there. We're going to do a quick little debrief over on the West Ham Massive. Really would appreciate it if as many of you as possible would jump over there and check us out. Guys, thanks very much for joining us, and we will reconvene another time. Stay safe, guys, and we will see you again very soon indeed. Take care and come on, you Irons.
Irons.